So hello, I'm Paul. Been doing Sahaja Yoga meditation for about 12 or 13 years, and we've just finished a meditation now, and we're listening to a talk from Shamasaji, and she's talking about the problems the mind can create for us. And it reminded me of the time when we were in Cabela in Italy, and there was all these what we call Yuva Shaktis, all the young people playing their instruments. And in my heart I really wanted to be able to stand up and dance. I really wanted to be able to express, but I had all this stuff within me, these barriers, the conditionings that were kind of going, oh no, you can't dance, you know, I'd feel awkward. And it's funny because it affects our physiology, everything. You kind of get up and dance and you feel a bit like a stick man. And we were sat in what we call the Pendle, the big hall, and I looked away, and my attention my thoughts went silent for a moment, and my attention just went inside. And I had this realisation that actually, although there was 1,000 people in the hall at the time or whatever, that we were only connected through that connection with the Divine, and that actually we were all just children of the Divine. So in truth, the only commonality, the only thing that really existed was our relationship with the Divine. So the relationship with the other people there, and this fear then of being embarrassed in front of them, it became a myth. They call it has to be totally fictional, because the only real truth is that we're all connected to the Divine. And as I realised that, as my attention went on to that, all of the feelings, all of the physiological reactions to this fear, this situation that I had 30 seconds before, just dissolved away. And I felt this tremendous freedom come into me. I just stood up and I was dancing. There was no insecurity, there was no doubt, there was just me dancing, enjoying. And that was many years ago, and I now sit here and we've listened to this talk about the mind and the importance of telling the mind to shut up and leave us alone. And it just reminds me, really, I'll just finish on this point, that it reminds me that there is, when we do Sahaja Yoga meditation, we have that connection with the Divine, with Mother. Actually we have the possibility to live without any of those physiological problems, without any of those reactions to fears, doubts, conditionings. If we can surrender them all and live totally free and totally spontaneously. So that's my goal for the next week, to find that.
Can I just ask you, Paul, I've heard you talk about this a few times, about the sort of early experiences you had, because Andy, your twin brother, had already started doing Sahaja Yoga. I don't know, I've heard you talk about that a few times, how he sort of encouraged you to come in to meditate. And could you talk a little bit about that? I always find that very interesting.
Yeah, so when I was much younger, when I was 13 or something, or even younger, I always had this realisation that there was something. I had quite a stressful upbringing, quite a stressful childhood. So all I knew to do is to go and stand by the trees out the back of the house and just put my attention inside and try to be silent. That's all I knew I had to do. And then I, got into my older teenage years and went slightly mad for it, and was at university going even more mad for it. And I'd lost all of that recognition, that connection. And then my brother, Andy, my twin brother, had been doing Buddhist meditation for a couple of years. And we just, we put that down to him being a proper hippie.
We being you
me,
and
the parents. Yeah,
right.
My mum was properly gone. She was. You might want to cut that out. But she was struggling. She was, really stressed and really struggling and on pills and all sorts. And so we all sort of discarded what Andy was doing, but then he started doing Sahaja Yoga, and again didn't take it any more seriously. But over the course of a year, I'd see him and he'd go, "Can I work on you?" and start working on my chakras, as we can do in Sahaja Yoga. And over the course of a year, he probably only did this 4 times. But at the end of that year, I looked back and something transformational had changed within me. I didn't believe in it. I didn't choose to go, "Oh, this is something I want to do." I just indulged him and let him sort of work on my chakras, and I wasn't sure whether I was really feeling anything or not. But after the course of the year, something had fundamentally changed within me. My perspective had changed, and I just quit my job. I said I didn't go to university to train to be a designer to then go and do sales. And they all thought I was mad in my workplace to quit, but I just had this faith that, you know what, I've got to follow my heart. And that was totally new to me, the idea of following my heart, you know. And then I found myself moving to London from Manchester, and then I found myself going to 1 meeting a week and rather enjoying it. I then found myself going to 2 meetings and 3 meetings. Before I knew it, I was leaving the pub on a Saturday early evening, choosing not to spend the night with my mates in the pub, and I was going off to a Saturday evening Sahaja Yoga program. And yeah, I just found this freedom and this joy that I hadn't been able to get through all of those extreme sort of party situations that I'd found myself in for many, many years. And I discovered in that moment that actually I realised at that time that I'd really never really enjoyed any of that stuff. And I was seeking some subtler sense of peace and satisfaction within that I didn't have in my life, and I was disguising it with all of the partying. So it became really easy for me just to go, you know what, I'm going to let all that partying go, and I'm just going to enjoy what I've been looking for and stop giving myself a hard time. Does that work?
That's great. Thanks, Paul.